County Board of Commissioners General Session. Today is March 23rd, 2021, and we will begin with the Pledge of Allegiance led by Commissioner O'Grady.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Commissioner O'Grady. As a reminder, this is a public meeting and is being recorded. We kindly ask that you maintain the same level of decorum as if we were meeting in person. Finally, for those calling in, please ensure that you have muted your phone by pressing *6. Thank you so much for cooperation today. Today continues our Women's History Month, and we have a very, very special guest, which we're all very excited to hear from, and that's Jennifer Bruner, the Honorable Jennifer Bruner, who is serving as our most esteemed woman in public service in Ohio. She was recently elected as one of 7 justices of the Ohio Supreme Court, beginning her term in January. Previously served as a State of Appeals Court judge for the 10th District here in Franklin County. She also served as the first female Secretary of State, the great state of Ohio, from 2007 to 2011. While serving in that role, she received the bipartisan and very prestigious John F. Kennedy Profile and Courage Award. I remember that. What a wonderful tribute that was to your legacy and service, Justice Bruner. So if you all would kindly join me in welcoming our Franklin County's great friend over at the Supreme Court, Ohio Supreme Court Justice Jennifer Bruner.
Thank you, Kevin, and thank you, commissioners and staff and guests and other members attending and the members of the public. I'm really honored that you asked me to speak today. When you think about Women's History Month, I think sometimes people think, well, why do we have to highlight women's history? Over time, women have been in a position where they've handled so many things, but they haven't been given opportunities, for instance, starting with the right to vote. That didn't come about nationally in the United States until 1920. And if you look at the history of women serving in elective office in Ohio, I would commend you to go to the Ladies Gallery. I love the fact that they call it the Ladies Gallery at the Ohio State House. And you'll see that right after women gained the right to vote in the United States, there was a real push for women to run for public office in Ohio in the 1920s. And so you'll see some quite a group of women, and then things sort of tapered off for a while. And then we had World War II, where women could step up and work in factories and even play women's baseball, if you remember A League of Their Own from maybe the 90s. And then things kind of like pushed back into the 1950s. Women were a bit more repressed again. And then you had sort of the first wave of the feminist movement. That was very largely was propelled to a great deal by the advent of birth control for women to be able to leave the home, leave some of their responsibilities or better handle more of them, and then move forward to be great contributors in many more ways than they had ever been before. Now, I will tell you that when I became a common pleas court judge in 2000, I really believed that my greatest training to prepare me to be a common pleas court judge had been all the multitasking that I learned as a mother, because it's a very, very busy docket because of so many administrative appeals cases come through Franklin County because of state government being here. So in 1 minute, I would be taking a plea from a criminal, a defendant accused of a crime and convicted, then thereafter convicted of a crime. Next minute, moving back to a civil trial, then going to administrative meetings or serving on a committee for the Supreme Court. And I remember there was a gentleman in the courtroom who said, "Oh my word, I've just been sitting here watching you in this courtroom, and how do you do all this?" And I literally said, "Well, it's because I was a mom before." And the pandemic has really hurt women in so many ways, because they were really good at juggling when they could deal with their childcare, their assistants at work, and still try to keep things balanced. But when everything shut down and they were having to deal with homeschooling, continuing to work remotely, still dealing with their responsibilities at home, plus the new sort of mental health responsibilities of trying to create some semblance of normalcy for the family, some women just basically had to throw in the towel and either say, I've got to just do one thing, or this business that I had doesn't work this way. I'm going to just go take a regular job. And when you look at other countries that are, especially in Europe, there are things like childcare and elder care that are supported and provided by the community that I think have probably made it a little bit easier for folks over there than maybe we've had it over here. It's hard to say, and I think there'll be studies that we'll see as time goes on. But I go back to the key thing. When I had 3 children, and then later I had custody of 3 other children, so I had 6 children back in the 90s, and I was managing kids from ages 4 to 17 for a period of 2 years where they moved forward. I know I had 2 different childcare providers, one from the morning until sometime in the afternoon, and then there was a 2 or 3 hour break while the kids were in school, and I'd pick up someone from the afternoon into the early evening. And it didn't mean that I wasn't home sometimes and participating, but that's what I needed to make it work. And until, and so 30 years later, my oldest daughter, who has 3 children and had 3 children in 5 years like I did, said, "Mom, I can't believe how hard this is." And, for once, I was in a position where I could counsel on both the work issues and the childcare issues, which many of us who did both of that had mothers who could only counsel us on the child issues, and we'd have to look to our dads to counsel us on the work issues if we were fortunate enough to have both. And I said to my daughter, I understand. I said, "This is what I went through." And she said, "Yeah, but Mom, that was 30 years ago. It shouldn't still be like this today." And the only way things like this are going to change is if more women run for and serve in elective office. And there are 3 reasons mainly that women don't run for office. Number 1, they're concerned about their family situation. Number 2, they think they don't have enough experience. And number 3, they've never been asked. And it was Fran Ryan who asked me to run in 1992 for Common Pleas Court judge. And at the time, I thought, my children aren't far enough along, and I don't think I have enough years in as an attorney to be a judge, even though I had enough, but I felt to have a real depth of professional knowledge that I wanted more time. But, the thing is the third factor was she asked me. And that thought never left my head for the next 8 years. And I thought, maybe I really should do this. And I just wanted to run for office because I wanted to do the work and I wanted to be a judge. And sure enough, in 2000, I was able to win against a sitting newly appointed judge who happened to be my friend, and it was a very friendly race. And that got me started. And yet, as an individual who was more of an introvert when I was a little kid, because I went through Columbus Public Schools, I thought, oh, well, I could never run for public office. But when I actually ran, I loved being with people. And I thought, this campaigning is kind of fun. I'm like seeing people all over Franklin County. I thought I knew this area. And I love what I learned from people. And so this natural curiosity about people helped a shy person overcome what would have stopped me before from running for public office. So the point being is, while I may be the first Secretary of State, first female Secretary of State, I don't want to be the last one. And, when I walk down the halls of the Supreme Court, because I do go in a little bit, even though we're still working remotely, every justice gets a portrait, which just sort of blew me away. I wasn't thinking about that when I was campaigning during the pandemic. I was just trying to make sure I had strong enough internet to make it all work. But there aren't very many pictures of women in that Supreme Court. And I will go back to the 1920s. The first female Supreme Court justice ever elected in any state in the country was elected here in Ohio. Her name was Florence Ellenwood Allen. And when she campaigned statewide, women did tea parties all over the state of Ohio to help get her elected in the 1920s. I mean, you realize she was actually on the short list for the US Supreme Court under Franklin Delano Roosevelt, but she had wanted to go to Columbia Law School. And because she was female, she had not been accepted. And she went to, I think, New York Law School. And so it was because she lacked the credentials of an Ivy League school that he felt he could not appoint her. He appointed her from the Supreme Court. He appointed her to Federal District Court in Ohio and later to the Sixth Circuit Court of Appeals. And she was the first woman to be shortlisted for the US Supreme Court. So we have a long way to go. We've come a long way, but my philosophy with women is, and men and people of color and LGBT folks who want to run because of public service, is one hand forward, one hand back. So someone helped me, even if it was just in the words that they said. And then I want to always have one hand back to make sure that I can bring someone else along, because in the end, you know, I commend the commissioners. I commend all of you. We are all public servants, and to whatever degree we do it, whether it's elected, whether it's appointed, whether it's even being a Boy Scout or a Girl Scout troop leader and helping pick up trash along the roadway, when we have a mind toward public service, we make our community better for all of us, and we allow us and everyone to move forward in greater equality and in a greater quality of life. So thank you for having me. Thank you for recognizing Women's History Month, and let's keep going forward. And congratulations to the commissioners for all the hard work you've done in this pandemic. I know it has not been easy. And yeah, I think of you often because, you know, you have to be leaders in a time that we've never even imagined that we'd have to be in. So thanks a lot. And God bless you all and have a great day.
Thank you so much, Justice Bruner. I want to give my colleagues the opportunity to wish you some parting thoughts. Commissioner Brown?
Justice Bruner, I think what you've done is open the door for so many other women. What one piece of advice would you give a woman who's not even thinking about running, but wanting to do something to help their community? What would you say to that young woman who's feeling like they're doing so much, but they don't know where to go to do more? Anything that you would have to say if they're maybe working on campaigns, but don't know what to do more?
Sure. The Ohio State University has, through the Glenn College of public policy, has some specific initiatives that they undertake every year, where they introduce women to the concept of running for office. And I would take a look at the Glenn School website at OSU, look at some of their women's initiatives, because they have great seminars that I know they're still doing even virtually, where they introduce women to what it's like to be involved in a campaign, to understand public policy, and to actually sort of envision what it would be like to run for office. I worked for many, many years in just helping other candidates, whether it was and doing mostly the legal work to help them understand, to help them in running for public office. And at some point, I decided it was maybe my turn.
Thank you.
Commissioner O'Grady?
Commissioner, you're muted, sir.
Sorry about that. Thank you, President Boyce. Justice Brunner, your concept of one hand forward, one hand back is just wonderful. Regardless of party, I remember the events of my dad. My father was state party chairman back in the late 1960s, and the Federated Democratic Women of Ohio came to him and asked him if he would help elect the first Democratic woman to a constitutional office in the state of Ohio. And he said, "You bring me the candidate, we'll get her elected," and brought him Gertrude Donahue. And so he did everything he could to help get Gertrude Donahue elected to state treasurer in Ohio back in 1970. I then had the honor of working for her successor, Mary Ellen Withrow. And since being elected to office back in 2000, when I ran with you back in 2000, when you ran for judge the first time, I ran for clerk of courts. Since that time, I've taken my dad's advice and done everything I could to sit with and mentor as many candidates as I possibly could, whether they be men, women, African-American candidates, for first-time African-American candidates for countywide office, LGBT candidates, local candidates for municipal offices all over Franklin County, because that's one, that's what I was taught by my dad, but two, I agree with you that we have an obligation to do as much as we can to reach backward and mentor folks just to get them interested. I've met with great candidates. I've met with some candidates that weren't so great, but anytime we should do anything we can to encourage folks to get involved in the process, because we need better, as many good public servants as we possibly can get.
I remember well your dad, because my first job out of college was working in the Ohio Senate as a committee secretary for Tom Carney from Girard, Ohio, who chaired the Transportation Committee. And yes, I do remember your dad quite well, and a wonderful man.
Tom Carney was a great guy. His daughter Marie serves on one of our committees, one of our boards for Jed Morrison at Developmental Disabilities.
Oh, that's wonderful.
Yeah.
Well, the only thing that I'll add is that I'm not sure that I can add too much other than to say I thought it was really impressive how you talked about the balance of life, with your children, your 3 kids, and then 6 that you had in your home, and doing all the things that you've done. And I think that's a real serious barrier to a lot of women who are thinking about public office across this country. And so maybe just for a second, zero in on what the key ingredient to that balance is, because whenever I talk to women about running office, that always comes up, in terms of their family life, what they believe their obligations are with their children. And maybe even if they don't have them and they want children, it's always something that seems to be a barrier for women. But you've done it so perfectly well, as has Commissioner Brown, quite frankly. And so what is that key ingredient you would tell that young lady struggling with that factor?
I think you have to know yourself and know what your limits are. You also have to be able to laugh at yourself, because it takes a sense of humor. I will say this with all due respect, there are a lot of politicians who are not self-observant. It's the ability to step outside of yourself and observe yourself and ask yourself, why am I doing what I'm doing, is very, very valuable, especially when you're in a position where people are looking at you, to you, toward you for leadership. Imagine being a judge and you walk into the courtroom and you are the only person in a costume, and you sit at a dais that's higher than everybody else, and every facial expression you make is being scrutinized by criminal defense attorneys. Oh, is she in a good mood today? What is she going to do to my client today on sentencing? Or the jury who's who's a little nervous and worried about doing a good job and thinking, well, okay, I need to follow the judge. All of these things come into that. And I think if you can spend the quiet time, and it's really hard when you have a lot of kids and you're, juggling and so forth. And I used to meditate for a period of time, and my whole family made fun of me, but like it was the only time I got to myself. And actually, it was a joke in my campaign in 2000 that when I spent my time in the car driving from place to place in Franklin County, it was actually time to myself. So you could tell a young woman who's looking to run locally that the campaign might actually be a little bit of time to herself. But it's just important that she knows what her limits are. She knows what her priorities are. this is for anybody who's struggling with that decision, and there are times when I ran for the U.S. Senate in 2010. I did not quit that race, even though it was a very, very difficult race, and it's the only race that I've ever lost. And the only reason I didn't step back, because you can if you want to, was I had promised women that I would not drop out. I had been specifically asked, and this group of women on the telephone said, one woman piped up and said, "Promise us you won't drop out." And I did a big gulp and said, "Okay, I won't drop out." Mm-hmm. And so I saw it through, but there's always time to change your mind as well.
Yeah. That's great advice. And I hope that there is a woman that's watching today that is considering running for office or just trying to balance life and work and all of those things. And I hope that they're inspired by your words. And I hope they learn from your experience. And I hope that perhaps they take that next step because of what you've been able to share with us, not just in your words today, but just in how you carried out your career in public service. So thank you so much for what you represent, Justice Brunner, and we appreciate you.
Thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely. Thanks for being here today. All right, let's keep the agenda moving because that's a great way to start off our agenda today. And so is there a motion to approve the minutes of March 16th, 2021 general session, the March 18th, 2021 briefing session, and the March 15th and 17th, 2021 administrative briefings?
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Voting. Commissioner O'Grady?
Yes.
Commissioner Brown?
Yes.
Commissioner Boyce?
Yes.
The minutes have been approved.
Thank you. First up, Board of Commissioners.
Resolution number 228-21. Resolution of support for Asian American and Pacific Islander residents and condemning racism and discrimination in all its forms.
Good morning, Commissioners. Joy Bivens, Deputy County Administrator of Health and Human Services for Franklin County. As you all are aware of the horrendous crime that happened on March the 16th, many of our Asian brothers and sisters were impacted by that horrendous crime. Before I read this resolution, I would like to bring something to your attention that was reported in The Guardian from March 19th, 2020 to February 21st. Asian Americans from all 50 states experienced everything ranging from verbal abuse to physical assault, from getting coughed on to getting denied services because of their ethnicity, according to a report released on Tuesday by Stop AAPI Hate Crime, a nonprofit for the coalition tracking incidents of violence, discrimination, and harassment. As you all will know in the resolution, that more than 68% of the abuse was verbal and harassment and name calling. I will now read the resolution. Resolution of support for Asian American and Pacific Islanders residents and condemning racism and discrimination in all its forms by the Board of Commissioners. Whereas the Franklin County Board of Commissioners has demonstrated a long-standing record of promoting racial equity, inclusion, and diversity in all aspects of county government. The commitment has been exemplified through the development and execution of the Rise Together Blueprint in Franklin County, historic investments in racial equity training, and codified through the declaration of racism as a public health crisis. And whereas the Franklin County Board of Commissioners most recently established racial equity as a core principle of the board via Resolution 793-20 on November 17, 2020. And whereas over 70,000 AAPI residents live in Franklin County, according to 2019 U.S. Census Bureau estimates, and contribute tremendously to the economic and cultural vitality of Central Ohio. And whereas anti-Asian racism and hate has long been a stain on our nation's history, from legislation like the Page Act or Chinese Exclusion Act passed in the late 1800s to the U.S. Supreme Court's Corbett decision, which provided legal grounds for detaining over 120,000 Japanese Americans in intermittent camps during World War II. And whereas inflammatory, xenophobic, and racist rhetoric targeted Asian Americans and Pacific Islanders has intensified in the midst of the COVID-19 pandemic. and hate crimes targeting Asian people in America's biggest cities has increased 150% in 2020. And whereas the coalition Stop AAPI Hate reports, there have been nearly 3,800 hate-fueled incidents against the Asian American and Pacific Islander community in the U.S. since March 2020, a number the group says is probably a fraction of the true number. And whereas AAPI women were the targets of more than 68% of documented reports of anti-Asian harassment and violence since the beginning of the coronavirus pandemic. And whereas the horrific attack in Georgia on March the 16th, 2021 must be a wake-up call for our nation to uproot and combat anti-Asian hate and the intersection of bigotry, xenophobia, sexism, and white supremacy impacting AAPI communities. And whereas hatred and discrimination that targets any group is an attack on our entire community and must therefore be condemned wherever and whenever they arise. Now, therefore, be it resolved by the Board of Commissioners, Franklin County, Ohio, that this Board of Commissioners stands in solidarity with Asian American and Pacific Islander residents, families, and businesses, and condemns anti-Asian hate, racism, and discrimination in all its forms. Number two, the board encourages every Franklin County resident to condemn anti-Asian bias, seek opportunities to experience and learn about cultures other than their own, review their practices that may contribute to systemic racism, and in these forms work to create more welcoming, inclusive, anti-racist community. Third, that the board commissioner calls on the governor and the Ohio General Assembly to declare racism a public health crisis and support the creation of State Commission for Asian American and Pacific Islanders Affairs. Commissioners, with us today, we have with us two guests speaking on behalf of this resolution. The first is Miki Gotu, and the second is Lynn Ta.
Yeah, and I just want to say it's pronounced Mickey.
Sorry about that.
No problem. Thank you. I'm just going to start with a story. I remember one morning when I was in grade school, I had to be like 8 years old, so it was like early 80s. I was awakened by my mother frantically on the phone, speaking in Japanese, like they egged our cars and they wrote horrible things. I kind of got out of bed to see what was going on, and my mom was like, Mickey Masato, to me and my brother, we have to clean up this mess. Like, still halfway asleep. I was just kind of like, clean up what? So she told whoever she was on the phone with, like, I'll call you back, and rushed us outside to show us the damage. In huge letters, the words chink, go home, go back to where you came from were written on our cars. And that, I don't know how they got a hold of those pens that they use with like the impound lot or whatever, but it was written on our cars, on our driveways. There was egg all over our cars. And mind you, in my mind, we're like the all-American family with like 2.3 kids, give or take. We had a station wagon, we had a home, we were like living the American dream. So I couldn't even wrap my mind around chink and go home. Like, I'd lived in this house my whole life, so like I was home. But neither my brother nor I, we didn't ask any questions, we just cleaned. My mom, dad, brother, and I, we scrubbed and scraped for what seemed like hours to remove any trace of the damage. Afterwards, there was no discussion of what happened. There was no questions, no dialogue, like no discussion. We just went on about our lives like nothing ever happened, and there were no police reports, no insurance claims. My dad paid to get his window fixed, and we never brought it up again. Thinking back, I honestly don't think my parents knew what to say to us. Japan, where they're from, has like one of the most homogenous populations in the world, and I really don't think they even knew how to articulate the idea of racism, having never experienced it in their homeland. Additionally, a lot of Asians from their generation were kind of the mindset of assimilation. Work hard, don't draw attention to yourself, speak English, and be American. So we spoke very little Japanese in the house and tried to be as American as possible. But that incident is just one of the first I can remember from like a laundry list of racist experiences I've endured throughout my life. But I never reported or discussed them with anybody because I just never felt like, sometimes I wasn't sure, and sometimes I didn't feel comfortable talking about it. I think that's part of the issue with our culture. We're not groomed for conflict or to draw attention to ourselves, especially in a negative light. But to be very clear, hate crimes against Asian Americans didn't just start with coronavirus. The reported increase in attacks against Asian Americans are just the reported attacks. Had a security camera or bystander or witness not been there, I believe that my elders would not have reported being set on fire, being tackled to the ground, being slashed across the face in the subway from ear to ear with a knife. We would have just scrubbed and scraped like I did when I was a child until there was no damage left. So that's why Lynn and we scrambled day and night without sleep for 2.5 days to organize the solidarity rally that we had this past Saturday. Because our elders won't speak out, because our generation, we can't hold it in any longer. And we know there's someone out there that feels the same way we do. And because if we don't discuss racism, discrimination, sexual fetishization, and crimes of hate with them, our children won't know when they've experienced injustice, and that just won't do. I want to thank the city, the commissioners for allowing me to speak on this topic, and I appreciate your support and declaration today. I encourage you to encourage your fellow Asian American brothers and sisters to speak out about their experience, because it's not our natural inclination to do so. And I hope you continue to support the Asian American Pacific Islander community as we seek solidarity with all communities against hate crime, racism. Thank you.
Thank you, Mickey. Lynn, do you want to go next?
Yes, I wanted to say thank you and sharing on what Mickey just spoke. Yeah, racism isn't anything new for us. We've experienced it our whole life. Like Mickey was saying, I remember being a child and a group of my friends would do this song or this thing called, the Chinese, Japanese, dirty knees, look at these, while doing slanted eyes. And at the time, I was the only Asian at my school. At the time, I felt weird, upset. I was also afraid to speak up. I didn't know if these kids knew what they were doing. I didn't know if they just thought it was a joke. But that's the thing. A lot of our kids, we don't realize that a lot of kids are suffering with the rise of COVID, the rise of our Asian community. There's a lot of discrimination and hate, and it's not just affecting our elders and adults, it's affecting children. And like I said, all I knew was part of me was feeling shame, and a part of me was ashamed of how I looked and who I was. I remember being at elementary school, and every day when I walked and I got off the bus, I remember being pushed and called names like Ching Chong and so-called Chinese noises or words they were saying to my sister and I. We were targeted not just because we were little, but because also of the way we looked, something we could not help. We were born Chinese and Vietnamese and clearly looked different from all the other kids at our bus stop. I remember being afraid to tell my parents because I didn't want to worry them. I didn't want them to be afraid. And I was ashamed that I was allowing this to happen to me and my sister. The racism didn't end as a child. It also followed me as an adult Asian woman. Sometimes walking out in the streets, out in our community, I've experienced men yelling out, "Me love you long time," and making other comments and thinking they have the right to come up to me and try to touch me because of my size or my race, as if I'm an Asian woman. So I must be a prostitute or to some people believing there's some stereotypes that exist out there about Asian women, or these hypersexualization of our Asian women out here. These are just a few stories. I have many, and I'm sure Mickey does too. Mickey and I created our community collective, Stop the Hate, rally as a start. It was just the beginning of discourse. We wanted people to see and have our community being visual. And this is just the start of the conversation. In the words of Grace Lee Boggs, I've come to believe that you cannot change society unless you take responsibility for it, unless you see yourself belonging to it and responsible for changing it. So thank you again for taking this stand and letting the Asian community know the county and our city will not stand for hate, and will say no, hate will not happen here, and willing to be the voice for the voiceless, and willing to bring awareness and support to stop hate and racism here. And I also ask our officials and leaders here, I want you to come up with a plan and also support our new Americans, communities, and keep having this conversation, keep opening dialogues, and go out there and be a voice for our community. Thank you.
Thank you, Lynn and Mickey. Both, I consider you both very good and personal friends of mine, and I know how much courage it takes to do what you've done, not just over the last couple of weeks, but throughout your lifetimes here in Columbus. You both are exemplary, not just for the Asian community, but for our community, for Franklin County and Central Ohio. You are leaders, you are strong, and we appreciate your courage, and we need to do more. You know, Martin Luther King Jr. said it best when he said that, make sure I get it right, injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere. And as an African-American man living in America, I know that a threat on our Asian brothers and sisters today is as much a threat on me personally. And one day it's you, tomorrow it's me. And so we must stand up, we must do more. And when we launched our New Americans Advisory Council, you know, quite frankly, I'm not sure we were thinking about this type of discussion, you know, violence against people. We were really thinking about public policy in a different way. But I want to encourage you to engage with the New American Advisory Council, and maybe to my staff, if they're listening, and to Dean, maybe we should look at an appointment of one of these strong and courageous young ladies to that commission, because maybe they can bring this issue to that commission where we can really take this on as a county and as a Central Ohio community. And so we should look at some openings on that commission, and maybe that's a place where we can take our work from Franklin County and really envelop the work that Mickey and Lynn are advocating for right here. So let me open up to my colleagues. I'm sure they have something to say as well. And I'll just kind of leave. I hope that you'll consider joining us in the New American Advisory Council, because I think your work can be strong. I know Lynn's been engaged at some point, but Mickey, I think it'd be great to be engaged with that as well. Commissioner O'Grady, Commissioner Brown.
Commissioner O'Grady, you want to go?
You know, sure, I'll start. You know, Commissioner Boyce and Commissioner Brown, being African American and Jewish, have certainly had much more direct experience in this regard than I, as an Irish American, have. All of my parents and certainly grandparents had to deal with this in their lives and in their history. You know, I've only ever been made fun of for being Irish, but I did grow up with many folks in my youth who I believe are the type of people who are more, I think, at the root of the problem. I grew up in an atmosphere where I think a lot of people who are the folks that are much more insensitive close to this issue, and much more the type of people who we need to be addressing with our you know, education, and with our directing our you know, our voice in this conversation. And it makes me proud to be a member of this board. Makes me proud to be a member of Franklin County government, where we've tried to do so much work in this area. It makes me proud this morning to be a part of this conversation with both Lynn and Mickey, to listen to their stories going forward that we're going to try to do all we can as county government and to continue to do the work that we do. So thank you. Good morning, guys, for being a part of it.
As a member of the Jewish community,
Mr. Brown?
I'm really touched by your stories in a way that, to me, discrimination against any community is not something we can stand with. We have to speak out. We have to speak out for all discrimination because we can be next. And we always know that we are the members of community that are other. And we know that we have to stand with others that are discriminated against. And we will always stand with you and others that are discriminated against. And we're thrilled to bring this resolution forward. We wish we didn't have to have a resolution like this, but we're happy to stand with you and others that have been discriminated against. This cannot stand, and we will always be with you. So just know that. And I think Commissioner Boyce's idea of having you be involved with the New Americans Advisory Committee is a good idea, and maybe that committee can be helpful in bringing forward some new ways of working to help with discrimination and help to prevent more discriminatory actions against all of our new Americans who are feeling discriminated against. And I know it's not easy to come forward. So if you come forward together, if you're experiencing discrimination, we can all make a difference and make it better for everybody in our community to live and feel less concerned, less threatened, and feel like it's the welcoming community we want for everybody. So we thank you for the courage that you had to come forward and speak, because I know it's more difficult for the elders in the community that you represent to come forward. So thank you for coming forward to speak on behalf of the AAPI community.
I'll just conclude by Deputy Administrator Bivens, did you want to add something?
Commissioners, I would like to ask the request of both these young ladies in the future, if we could schedule them to come and sit with our, attend one of our Health and Human Services combined meetings so that there can be shared learning and collective understanding of their community, and so that we can become better for their community in the capacity that we work as well.
Deputy Administrator, I think that's a wonderful idea. You know, I think when voices come from the community for leadership, we should do our best to amplify those voices and support that work. And you know, this is a low-hanging fruit, no-brainer, easy way for us to try to combat a ridiculous and absurd effort out here that we have to reject as a broader community. And so I think, you know, whatever ammunition that we have at the Franklin County ammunition box, let's use it. We'll use Lynn and Mickey as catalysts to help us deploy those resources. And to both of you, we appreciate and value the work that you're doing and joining us in this fight in public service. And thank you for your voice today. Good to see you both.
Thank you. Thank you for giving us this opportunity. We're just two friends who came together and said, we're going to give a voice to our community.
Good.
Thank
Good for you.
for that.
Good for you. Thank you.
We appreciate you guys for what you're doing. You've helped us continue to step up and speak out against racism and you know, in all its forms. And this is this racism is just cowardice, whether it's what's been happening in the community over the last couple of weeks, whether it's these knuckleheads who think it's okay to call out a basketball player.
Yes.
Something like that last week, whatever form it takes, it's ugly and it's just wrong. And Commissioner Boyce and Commissioner Brown and I are unified in our resolve and willingness to call it out in whatever form it is. Thank you guys for being here this morning to allow us to do it again.
Okay, is there a motion for the resolution?
Yeah, I'm sorry. Let me grab the number here real quick. So I will make a motion to, if there aren't any other comments or questions, I will make a motion to approve resolution 22821.
Second.
Moved and seconded voting, Commissioner O'Grady,
Yes.
Commissioner Brown,
Yes.
Commissioner Boyce.
Yes,
Resolution number 228-21 has been adopted.
thank you. And thank you both for being here once again.
Thanks, guys.
Next, we have the coroner.
Resolution number 198-21. Resolution authorizing an agreement with AMN Healthcare recruiting firm for physician recruitment services for the Franklin County Forensic Science Center Office of the Coroner in the amount of $35,000.
Good morning, Commissioners. My name is Amanda Alvarez. I'm the Director of Operations, and I'm representing Anna Hughes. This resolution will authorize an agreement with AMN Healthcare, a recruiting for a physician recruitment services for the Forensic Science Center. The services are to recruit one forensic pathologist, and we have utilized this vendor once before with excellent outcome. Pending any questions, we ask for your approval of this resolution.
If there aren't any questions, I'll move approval of resolution 19821.
Second.
Moved and seconded voting, Commissioner O'Grady,
Yes.
Commissioner Brown,
Yes.
Commissioner Boyce.
Yes,
Resolution number 198-21 has been adopted.
thank you. Next, we have domestic relations.
Resolution number 199-21. Resolution authorizing a contract with Capital University Law School in the amount of $48,000.
Good morning, Commissioners. Barb Reeves, Deputy Director. With me this morning is Julie Troth, our Director of Programs and Services. This resolution is requesting a contract with Capital University Law School to provide training for our community volunteers for our Restorative Justice Circles program. I will turn it over to Julie, and she can share a little bit about this program with you.
Good morning, Commissioners. The Restorative Justice Circle is a community-based program that's designed to provide an alternative response from the juvenile justice system for misdemeanor offenders. The Restorative Justice Circles bring together the juvenile offender, his or her parent, the victim, and volunteer members within the community to create a plan to bring that youth to accountability and responsibility for one's actions. Early indicators of our success show that in 2020, 32 youth were referred to the Restorative Justice Circles program, and 91% of those youth successfully completed the program. While COVID did impact the court with our curtailed operations, we were able to continue with our Restorative Justice Circles work through the utilization of Zoom technology. And pending any other questions, the court is requesting approval of this resolution.
If there are no questions, I'll move approval of resolution 19921.
Second.
Moved and seconded voting, Commissioner O'Grady,
Yes.
Commissioner Brown,
Yes.
Commissioner Boyce.
Yes,
Resolution number 199-21 has been adopted.
Thank you.
Thank you.
all right, I guess we're back to Board of Commissioners again, a little circle around there.
Resolution number 200-21. Resolution accepting single county ditch petition and referring to the county engineer for recommendation.
Good morning, Commissioners and County Administration. On behalf of Engineer Robertson, my name is Fritz Crozier, Chief Deputy of Engineering. Commissioners, this resolution is for the Mando County Ditch Petition. The Board of Franklin County Commissioners is in receipt of a single county ditch petition filed on February 24th, 2021 by Frank Mando to improve the drainage in the Mando Ditch watershed in Brown Township. This represents the first legislative step in the ditch petition process. The engineer's office has worked closely with the clerk, and a virtual viewing of this ditch is scheduled for May 5th, 2021. Pending any questions, I would ask for your approval.
If there are no questions, I'll move approval of resolution 221.
Second.
Moved and seconded, voting Commissioner O'Grady,
Yes.
Commissioner Brown,
Yes.
Commissioner Boyce.
Yes.
Resolution number 221 has been adopted.
Thank you. Next, engineer.
Resolution number 201-21, resolution authorizing non-general fund supplemental appropriations for the motor vehicle and gas tax fund.
Commissioners, as noted, this next resolution seeks authorization of non-general fund supplemental appropriations for the motor vehicle and gas tax fund. The requested amount is $8.9 million. Details of this appropriation request include new capital improvement projects, carryover capital improvement projects from 2020, heavy equipment purchased in 2020 but not delivered until 2021, and the need for new comprehensive project development software. Pending any questions, I'd ask for your approval.
There are no questions. I'll move approval of resolution 201-21.
Second.
Moved and seconded, voting Commissioner O'Grady,
Yes.
Commissioner Brown,
Yes.
Commissioner Boyce.
Yes.
Resolution number 201-21 has been adopted. Resolution number 202-21, petition filed for vacation of Beachwald Drive, Blendon Township, Franklin County, Ohio.
Commissioners, for our third resolution, the Blendon Township Board of Trustees has filed a petition to vacate Beechwood Drive in Blendon Township. Approval of this resolution would declare the petition valid and allow the engineer to move forward with the other legislative steps to determine if a vacation of these sections of roadway is warranted. Pending any questions, I would ask for your approval.
There are no questions. I'll move approval of resolution 202-21.
Second.
Moved and seconded, voting Commissioner O'Grady,
Yes.
Commissioner Brown,
Yes.
Commissioner Boyce.
Yes.
Resolution number 202-21 has been adopted. Resolution number 203-21, the 2021 resurfacing program for Franklin County, Ohio, declared necessary and hearing fixed for Tuesday, April 13th, 2021 at 9 a.m.
Commissioners, as noted, this resolution declares necessary the 2021 county resurfacing program. County engineer has identified several roads throughout the county in need of resurfacing and included them in this program. Approval of this resolution will authorize the engineer to prepare plans, specifications, and estimates for the project. Pending any questions, I would ask for your approval.
There are no questions. I'll move approval of 203-21.
Second.
Moved and seconded, voting Commissioner O'Grady,
Yes.
Commissioner Brown,
Yes.
Commissioner Boyce.
Yes.
Resolution number 202-21 has been adopted. Resolution number 204-21, resolution authorizing the Franklin County engineer to extend a contract with MP Dory Company for the 2021-2022 guardrail repair and upgrade program in the amount of $346,700.
Commissioners, as stated, this resolution renews a contract with the MP Dory Company for the 2021 through 2022 guardrail repair and upgrade program in the amount of $346,700. The board approved resolution number 0219-20, awarding to MP Dory the contract for the 2020 through 2021 guardrail repair and upgrade program. The contract allows for a maximum of 2 one-year extensions with the agreement of both the contractor and the engineer. This is the first renewal of the contract, and pending any questions, I would ask for your approval.
There are no questions. I'll move approval of resolution 204-21.
Second.
Moved and seconded, voting Commissioner O'Grady,
Yes.
Commissioner Brown,
Yes.
Commissioner Boyce.
Yes.
Resolution number 204-21 has been adopted. Resolution number 205-21, resolution authorizing participation in the Ohio Department of Transportation winter contract for road salt, Franklin County, Ohio.
Commissioners, this is an annual resolution that seeks authorization to participate in ODOT's winter contract for road salt. Participation in the contract will allow Franklin County to take advantage of competitive pricing as a result of collaborative bidding. Pending any questions, I would ask for your approval.
If there are no questions, I'll move approval of resolution 205-21.
Second.
Moved and seconded, voting Commissioner O'Grady,
Yes.
Commissioner Brown,
Yes.
Commissioner Boyce.
Yes.
Resolution number 205-21 has been adopted. Resolution number 206-21, preliminary allocation and county motor vehicle license fee funds to the city of Whitehall in the amount of $220,000.
Commissioners, for our final resolution, the City of Whitehall has submitted a request for license fee funds to pay for a portion of their South Yearling Road between Broad Street and Main Street improvement project. The engineer has viewed the proposed use of these funds and has determined that they meet the allowable use. Any questions, I'd ask for your approval.
There are no questions. I'll move approval of Resolution 20621.
Second.
Moved and seconded, voting Commissioner O'Grady,
Yes.
Commissioner Brown,
Yes.
Commissioner Boyce.
Yes.
Resolution number 20621 has been adopted.
Thank you. Next, sheriffs.
Resolution number 20721, resolution authorizing third contract extensions with Bob Barker Company Incorporated, Walter F. Stevens Jr. Incorporated, Tab Textiles Company Incorporated, and Victory Supply LLC for inmate bedding and linens for the Franklin County Sheriff's Office in the amount of $125,000.
Commissioner Dave Masterson, representing Sheriff Dallas Barlin. This resolution approves a contract with the aforementioned companies for inmate bedding and linens. It was originally competitively bid and awarded back in 2018. It is the third contract extension. There will be one remaining after this year. There are some nominal price increases based on raw materials and transportation costs. If any questions, ask approval of this resolution.
There are no questions. I'll move approval of Resolution 20721.
Second.
Moved and seconded, voting Commissioner O'Grady,
Yes.
Commissioner Brown,
Yes.
Commissioner Boyce.
Yes.
Resolution number 20721 has been adopted. Resolution number 20821, resolution authorizing a contract extension with Communications Council Incorporated to continue to provide communications consulting services in the amount of $27,000.
Commissioners, this resolution provides for a 3-month contract extension. The original contract was approved in December for an initial 3-month term. It is for $27,000, as mentioned, and provide communication consultant for the next 3 months. Any questions? I ask approval of this resolution.
If there are no questions, I'll move approval of Resolution 20820.
Second.
Moved and seconded, voting Commissioner O'Grady,
Yes.
Commissioner Brown,
Yes.
Commissioner Boyce.
Yes.
Resolution number 20821 has been adopted.
Thank you. Next, child support enforcement.
Resolution number 20921, resolution authorizing Franklin County Child Support Enforcement Agency to enter into a contract and receive funding from MDRC for the implementation of the Building Evidence on Employment Strategies for Low-Income Families project study in the amount of $2,028,447.26.
Good morning, Commissioners. Susan Brown, representing the Child Support Enforcement Agency. This resolution requests your consideration in approving a contract with MDRC, a nonprofit, nonpartisan education and social policy research organization. MDRC is conducting a national project funded by HHS, Administration for Children and Families, and the Social Security Administration. This project is called Building Evidence on Employment Strategies for Low-Income Families, or BEAS. The project seeks to build evidence within HHS for innovative interventions aimed at supporting low-income individuals and families seeking employment and advancement in the labor market, as well as economic security. Franklin County's CSEA pilot program, The Journey, A Parent's Voice, was selected as a project study site by MDRC and approved by the funders. The Journey, A Parent's Voice, is a child support-led early intervention program that provides a blended curriculum of parenting classes, employment, and other wraparound supports at the parent's point of entry into the child support system. The goal of the program is to provide supportive services to client parents and to encourage responsible co-parenting so that the parents can financially support themselves and their children and avoid the accumulation of child support debt. This contract aligns with the Rise Together Poverty Blueprint through the delivery of supportive services for low-income individuals to access employment. In addition, the parenting supports strengthen parental relationships which supports safe, stable home environments. The contract begins March 1st, 2021 and runs through September 30th, 2023 in an amount not to exceed $2,028,447.26. The resolution also authorizes the county administrator to sign future MOUs with the Cbis project partners and allows me to sign off on project reporting documentation. Contracts with Goodwill, Jewish Family Services, and Action for Children, our Journey partners, will follow this contract in the coming weeks. Pending any questions, I request that this resolution be approved.
Susan, this is a great contract and it's a great program. MDRC selected Franklin County to work with the administration on this because of the pilot we did.
That is correct.
That's wonderful. This is good news for us and shows us to be a leader in this effort. That's terrific.
I believe that our relationship with MDRC and also attending many research conferences through the Office Planning, Research, and Evaluation put us in a favorable position to be considered for this project. So I think our work going back to 2012 and BIAS, the behavioral economics, and then incorporating that work into our policies through BICS, building interventions and behavioral interventions and child support, to PJAC, which is Procedural Justice, Alternatives to Contempt. All of those projects culminated, I believe, in a strong proposal for this early intervention project. And I'm particularly excited about this project because it really changes the paradigm in how we interact with fathers from the very beginning of our case management.
I think this is great, and I'll be curious to see and interested to see what comes out of this study that we might be able to really use and that the administration can use as they go forward in designing these kinds of programs nationally. This is wonderful. Thank you.
Thank you. And it is a random control trial, so we should be able to get some really robust evidence out of this work. We're also partnering with Stark County in order to increase our target population, again, to increase the credibility of the evaluation and the significance, statistically significant population in order to create a stronger evaluation study.
That's great. Thank you.
Thank you.
Great work, Director. Just goes to show great leadership.
Thank you.
Agreed. And I'm really hopeful that as the Innovation Center gets set up and running, this is the kind of work where collaboration, coordination can really lead to some meaningful work long term. And so it'd be good to have some conversations longer term, bigger picture too there. So
thank you.
Commissioners, if I could really quick, Susan, on the last couple of times she's actually presented on here, her with her leadership and through her agency have been doing tremendous work in the last 30 days, but continually just to show innovation and thinking outside the box as it relates to children and families. So thank you, Susan, for everything that you do.
I appreciate your support and just supporting this type of work that we really do need to lean in, to our own program to make sure that we're doing more good than harm.
Absolutely.
Well, if there are no further comments or questions, I will move approval of Resolution 209-21.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Voting, Commissioner O'Grady.
Yes.
Commissioner Brown.
Yes.
Commissioner Boyce.
yes.
Resolution number 209-21 has been adopted.
Thank you.
Thank you. Economic Development and Planning is next.
Resolution number 210-21. Resolution implementing sections 3735.65 through 3735.70 of the Ohio Revised Code, establishing and describing the boundaries of the Franklin Township Westland North Broad Lawn Community Reinvestment Area in Franklin County, and designating a housing officer to administer this program.
Morning, Commissioners. James Schimmer, Director of Economic Development and Planning. This morning we have actually 3 resolutions for your consideration. This is the first, but the first the first one relates to a new business development opportunity on Philippi Road. The second supports a new magnet fund affordable housing project in the Westland area. But in both cases, we're employing the use of an economic development tool known as a CRA, or Community Reinvestment Area, to help facilitate these projects, which fall within Franklin Township and Prairie Township. We're happy to bring these forward this morning as Franklin County is continuing to work in this portion of the county and specifically within these 2 townships for the benefit of all of our residents. Josh Roth has done a terrific job and he will lead you through these following 2 resolutions. And I'll mention that the third resolution is a little unusual in that it is going to involve something called a detachment. That's where land will be transferred from a township will be transferred back to a township from the city of Columbus. Normally, we always seemingly go the other way, where land from the township goes into the city. This is a little different in that regard. The tool is rarely used, but in this case is being done to help facilitate a new residential development in Perry Township. Assistant Director Snap will take you through this with Matt Brown, but I will turn it over to Josh to lead you through the first 2 resolutions.
Good morning, Commissioners. Josh Roth, Senior Program Coordinator with Economic Development and Planning. As Director Schimmer mentioned, the first 2 resolutions will establish 2 new community reinvestment areas on the west side. Also, the establishment of tax incentive review councils to oversee compliance with any of the terms of these tax incentive agreements that may eventually be granted. Right now, we're just establishing the zones. And then also appoints the director as the housing officer for these CRAs, which is a statutory role. This resolution, the first resolution, establishes the Westland North and Broadlawn CRA. It consists of unincorporated Franklin Township areas along Philippi Road, bounded on the west by I-270, West Broad Street to the south, Wilson Road to the east, and Fisher Road to the north. This is an area where there's very little vacant land. So this CRA is primarily going to serve as an incentive to existing property owners or to new investors looking to make improvements to the aging commercial and industrial building stock in the area. Director Schimmer mentioned one specific project, but we have received a couple different phone calls about incentive availability for properties in this area. And so while it's still early, we want to at least be prepared to enter into these negotiations, make sure that proper incentives are in place so that we can support the area more broadly. This first resolution sets the terms of any exemption at up to 15 years and up to 100%. Any incentives that will be granted are ultimately going to be negotiated on a case-by-case basis, set forth in an individual CRA agreement, and then brought forward before the board by resolution for your ultimate approval. Pending any questions, we'd ask for the approval of this first resolution.
So Josh, these are businesses on Philippi Road, but these are also businesses on Broad Street as well?
That's correct, Commissioner.
So you have a mix of anything from shops and restaurants to warehouses and former department stores. And I mean, there's all kinds of stuff. There's every type of business you can imagine. And I mean, you've got apartment buildings, you've got, all kinds of things in that area.
Yeah, that's correct. This area generally lies to the north of Broad Street, but for a section which is known as the Broadlawn subdivision, it's a little bit further to the east. But you're correct, there are a lot of retail and there's a handful of multifamily. So, an opportunity for us to make investments to work with the private sector to support some of the additional goals beyond just job creation.
And this goes all the way up to Fisher Road, correct?
That's correct.
Yeah. Wow, this is great stuff. If there's no further comments or questions, I will move approval of Resolution 210-21.
I'll second.
Moved and seconded, voting Commissioner O'Grady,
Yes.
Commissioner Brown,
Yes.
Commissioner Boyce.
Yes.
Resolution number 210-21 has been adopted. Resolution number 211-21, resolution implementing sections 3735.65 through 3735.70 of the Ohio Revised Code, establishing and describing the boundaries of the Prairie Township, Westport, Dunbury Community Reinvestment Area, and Franklin County, and designating a housing officer to administer this program.
Commissioners, this second resolution would establish the Westport Road Dunbury Community Reinvestment Area. This is actually in Prairie Township, but still to the east of I-270. This is considerably smaller in area. It's to the south of Westland Mall and bordered on the south by Dunbury Road. The eastern boundary is actually the township line between Franklin and Prairie Townships. This is a subset of an area that the Franklin County Land Bank Central Ohio Community Improvement Corporation has spent a lot of time over the last decade working to clear some of the old blighted multifamily residential properties in the area and set the neighborhood up for redevelopment. This particular CRA is only for residential development. The terms shall not exceed 15 years or 100%. And the purpose, as Director Schimmer mentioned, is to support the proposed Dunbury Green affordable housing project. This is one of our 4 projects that we issued letters of intent to through the first round of the Magnet Fund, which is funded through the 2019 increase to the conveyance fee and also laid out in our affordable housing implementation framework. It's a $12.8 million project that leverages 4% low-income housing tax credits and will consist of 60 units for affordable senior housing designed specifically for aging in place. Pending any questions, we'd ask for your approval as well.
Hey, Josh, can you send me something on the county's role with CRAs? I'd like to just understand how we sort of engage in CRAs a little better. I don't know if you all have a write-up that kind of illustrates our the role that we play with CRA.
Yeah.
That'd be great. Thank you so much.
If there are no further questions, I'll move approval of Resolution 211-21.
Second.
Moved and seconded, voting Commissioner O'Grady,
Yes.
Commissioner Brown,
Yes.
Commissioner Boyce.
Yes.
Resolution number 211-21 has been adopted. Resolution number 212-21, resolution to authorize the detachment of 47.412 acres, more or less, from the City of Columbus, case number ANX-06-21.
Good morning, Commissioners. Jenny Snapp, Assistant Director, Economic Development and Planning. This morning, we have a detachment to present to you. This detachment has been something that we've been working on in our office probably for 9 months to a year. We've had several meetings with the township as well as with EPCON communities. And want to mention that we've worked very closely with the prosecutor's office on this particular detachment over the last several months. Want to thank them for all their hard work in this process. It's worth noting that we don't get many of these. I think in the last 13 years, maybe we've just had a few of these. I think that maybe I've just presented one in the last 7 years that I've been with EDP. So that's why it's been important for us to also work closely with the prosecutor's office. Matt Brown, our planning administrator, has worked very hard on this, become our expert in our office on this. So I want to thank Matt for all his hard work on this, but also want to mention we have a few guests with us today. If you have any questions at the end of Matt's presentation, we do have Pete Griggs, who's the attorney for Perry Township. He's with Brocious Johnson and Griggs. I know many of you know Pete. I think Chet Cheney may be on the call as well as Beth Beatty with Perry Township. And then we also have Joel Rhodes. He's the regional president with EPCON Communities. So if you have any questions when Matt's done, we'll be sure to allow them to speak. So Matt, I'll let you go ahead and present the resolution.
Thank you, Jenny, and good morning, Commissioners. Matt Brown, Planning Administrator for the Economic Development and Planning Department. This resolution is to consider a petition to detach 47.412 acres from the City of Columbus. Section 709.38 of the Ohio Revised Code allows for the detachment of land from a municipal corporation by the Board of Commissioners. The requirements for a detachment are that a majority of the electors owning land in the area to be detached must sign the petition. The petition must be accompanied by an accurate description and plat, and the municipality must have passed an ordinance assenting to the detachment. A detachment petition was submitted to Franklin County on February 9th, 2021. There are 103 total possible electors in the area to be detached, and the petition was signed by 65 or 63% of electors owning land in the territory. The petition was accompanied by an accurate description and plat, and the City of Columbus passed ordinance number 332-2020 on July 20th, 2020, authorizing the execution of an annexation agreement with Perry Township that was executed on August 19th, 2020, and the agreement specifically identified the territory to be detached and assented to the detachment. Based on the advice and input of the Franklin County Prosecutor's Office and assistance from the Board of Elections, staff finds that the petition has been filed in accordance with and satisfies the criteria contained in Section 709.38 of the Ohio Revised Code. And pending any questions, I would recommend your approval of this resolution.
Do we have speakers?
We do have Chet Cheney, Perry Township trustee. He is on with us, as well as Pete Griggs, counsel for the township. And then we have Joel Rhodes, who's the regional president for EPCON Communities. If you should have any questions, I know Chet is there and available, and is if you have any questions. Chet, do you want to say anything? I think that's to you.
Sure, Jenny. Thank you. Thank you, commissioners. I appreciate your consideration of this resolution. This has been a 2-year effort in the making. I want to thank our partners with the City of Columbus, as well as folks from Franklin County Economic Development and Planning, the Prosecutor's Office. This actually took a village to make happen. Our partnership with the developers in this case was instrumental. And this agreement actually does several things, one of which provides additional bonding capacity for the City of Columbus. It also provides water and sewer service to certain parts of the township. In addition, it addresses the issue of double taxation in areas which were annexed to the City of Columbus by Type 2 annexation. So it addresses the taxation issue for many residents. And so for all of those reasons, we respectfully request your support for passage of this resolution. And if you have any legal questions, Pete Griggs is on the line, or any questions regarding the development, Joel Rhodes from EPCON Development is on the line as well.
If there are no further comments or questions, I'll move approval of Resolution 21221.
I'll second.
Moved and seconded, voting Commissioner O'Grady?
Yes.
Commissioner Brown?
Yes.
Commissioner Boyce?
Yes.
Resolution number 21221 has been adopted.
Thank you, Commissioners.
Thank you. Next, fleet management.
Resolution number 21321. Resolution authorizing a contract to Buyers Ford LLC for the supply and delivery of fleet automobiles for Franklin County Fleet Management in the amount of $1,500,000.
Good morning, Commissioners. Charlotte Ashcraft, Director of Fleet Management. I should say happy spring morning. It's nice out. The resolution before you is requesting approval of a new contract for the purchase of new vehicles for our fleet. This contract was competitively bid by purchasing. It was publicly advertised and posted, as well as 17 companies received individual notifications of the bid opportunity. We did only receive 2 bids. Buyers Ford LLC of Columbus was determined to be the lowest and best bidder. This contract is for 2 years with 3 optional 1-year extensions. Comparing this contract to our last new vehicle contract, the cost of a vehicle has only increased by $186. So that is very encouraging for me. So pending any questions, I request passage of this resolution.
Any idea why we only received 2 bids?
No, many of the dealerships in the area have contracts with other governmental entities, so we can use those as well. So I do believe that the time involved in completing a new bid to them is not fruitful because they already have a contract that we could use if we choose to.
Okay. Thank you, Charlotte.
You're welcome.
There are no further questions or comments. I'll move approval of resolution 21321.
Second.
Moved and seconded voting. Commissioner O'Grady?
Yes.
Commissioner Brown?
Yes.
Commissioner Boyce?
Yes.
Resolution number 21321 has been adopted.
Thank you very much.
Great, thank you. Next, Jobs and Family Services.
Resolution number 21421. Resolution approving a contract for case management services between the Franklin County Department of Job and Family Services with the City of Columbus Department of Recreation and Parks, Central Ohio Area Agency on Aging, in the amount of $50,000.
Good morning, Commissioners. Vivian Turner, Assistant Director. A JFS case manager will continue to support COAAA for up to 20 hours a week by helping in determining customer eligibility, primarily for Medicaid waiver in long-term care, but also for other agency benefits such as food assistance. The contractual relationship between our agency and COAAA began in October of 2014. Under this agreement, COAAA will reimburse us for the actual full-time cost of a case manager on a quarterly basis, not to exceed a total of $50,000 for the term of the contract period. I should note that the case manager will continue to oversee the docket remotely, but once the public health emergency has been lifted during the term of this contract, we will look to get the case manager back on site at the COAAA offices located at 3776 South High Street. This agreement supports goal number 12 of the Rise Together Blueprint. And pending any questions, I request your approval.
If there are no questions, I'll move approval of resolution 21421.
Second.
Moved and seconded voting. Commissioner O'Grady?
Yes.
Commissioner Brown?
Yes.
Commissioner Boyce?
Yes.
Resolution number 21421 has been adopted. Resolution number 21521. Resolution approving a service agreement with Credible Mind Incorporated for a digital behavioral health platform that connects residents with online mental health information in the amount of $48,000.
I am excited to present this resolution this morning. According to the June 2020 CDC report, the COVID-19 pandemic has been having a major impact on mental health. The report found that anxiety, depressive, and substance abuse disorders, along with suicidal thoughts, were all on the rise. Studies have also shown that as many as 75% of people feel more comfortable taking a self-paced approach and addressing their mental health issues. The stigma associated with mental health illness likely plays a role in this, but regardless, we recognize that we are in the midst of a mental and behavioral crisis. Meeting people where they are is critical, and that's where the Credible Mind platform comes in. It connects residents and families with national and local resources to address their mental and emotional health challenges. The platform will allow Franklin County families to search for information and resources on over 200 emotional and mental health topics. Visitors can take self-paced self-assessments and be connected with apps, podcasts, videos, articles, and books on this platform. All of these are evidence-based approaches and are known to help with a variety of mental health and well-being topics. It also provides us with access to an array of analytical data to track different trends on the platform's utilization, while also protecting the individual's personal information. This agreement supports goal number 9 of the Rise Together Blueprint. And pending any questions, I request your approval. I think Deputy County Administrator Bivens may have comments here.
Yeah, Commissioners, I just want to make mention, Joy Bivens, Deputy County Administrator of Health and Human Services. I just want to make mention that this platform is going to be so resourceful, and it will revolutionize the way that people have access to mental health services. we don't have, it's documented, we don't have enough practitioners to service everyone, even across the nation, let alone in our own community. But this platform will allow people in their own homes, whether it's in the middle of the night, because we all know crisis does not have a 9 to 5 or they don't have business hours, right? But this platform is for parents, it's for teenagers, it's for young people, it's for middle age, it's for everyone. And it's not just for people who are impoverished. It is to service the 1.3 million people, the every resident, every day mission that we have. We are working with all of our human service agencies and standing this up. Adam H., speaking with Director Erica Clark-Jones, she will be working with us in launching. We will have demos for the business community, for the education community, for the human services community, because we want them to engage the families and residents that they serve in getting the message out that there is a free platform that the residents in Franklin County have access to as it relates to mental health. COVID, many times, the thing about COVID is if you didn't have a mental health issue, some people came out with depression, anxiety, and even also it triggered those with mental health issues. We want to be proactive in making sure that every resident have a resource in assisting them in navigating their mental health challenges.
How will we roll this out so people know it's available?
So so we are having meetings now, Commissioner, and we're coming up with a strategy, a rollout strategy. I hate to say it, sounds like a commercial. I wanted some, like, is that a Walmart thing, rollout? We're having a rollout meeting on what communications and marketing should we utilize, strategy we should utilize to inform the community. That's why we're working with those system leaders in the business community and in the human services community, because we're going to leverage all of their platforms in informing the families as well, not just county government.
Right, because I think that's where we'll see this really working if we have a robust rollout strategy. I've heard of Credible Mind, and I know that it can work if it's utilized. And in order to do that, you've got to get it out there. So that's great.
Deputy Administrator Bivens, I spoke with Erica Clark-Jones yesterday. One of the things we're talking about is on these calls that we've been doing since last March. Commissioner Brown has been reminding everybody to reach out to somebody who's living alone or shut in, or somebody who's not had access to family or friends as often as everybody else does. And she's been reminding people of that on a regular basis. I keep reminding people to change their perspective, to get outside. I'm kind of like a weatherman almost. I keep reminding people that the weather is going to be good, to get outside, to go for a walk, to go to a metro park, to go to their kids' ball game, to just basically to get up off the couch and get their face out of their devices. Just because this pandemic's been difficult on everybody. It's difficult on every member of the family. It's difficult, and it exacerbates people's mental health state that they already may have come into the pandemic with. But it's difficult on the most mentally sound people in our community. It's difficult on all of us. It's difficult on our pets, for God's sakes. It's difficult. It's difficult on every single member of the family. And so this is a great resolution. It's a great contract. I'm so glad we're doing this and we're making it available to everybody across the spectrum. Each member of my family has dealt with this thing in a different way, and we've encouraged everybody to deal with it in their own way, in their own time. Whether it's taking a walk, whether it's riding a bike, whether it's going for a drive, whether it's putting on a mask and going to the grocery store if that's what they need to do, whether it's just getting some alone time, whether it's reading a book, maybe it's checking out something on Netflix or Hulu or something like that. Maybe whatever it is, maybe it's just sitting out in the backyard and getting some peace of mind and peace, some of your own peaceful time. And maybe it's all of us doing something together as a family. But we all have our own ways, and we've been trying to remind each other. Marilyn has been doing it. I've been doing it. Commissioner Boyce has been doing it. We've all been trying to remind each other of it. So this resolution this morning really means a lot. It's really impactful. I'm so glad you brought it. Thank you for that. Well, if there's no other comments or questions, I will move approval of resolution, and I lost track. Is it 216,
215.
215-21?
Second.
Moved and seconded, voting. Commissioner O'Grady?
Yes.
Commissioner Brown?
Yes.
Commissioner Boyce?
Yes.
Resolution number 215-21 has been adopted.
Thank you, commissioners. And I just wanted to note, I wanted to thank Megan from purchasing and Adam, as well as the prosecutor's office for really helping us to craft the agreement. Have a great Tuesday.
Thanks, Vivian.
Thank you too.
Thank
Next,
you.
Justice Policy and Programs.
Resolution number 216-21. Resolution authorizing receipt of the Franklin County Fiscal Year 2020 Services Training Officers Prosecutors Violence Against Women Act Block Grant Award and granting authority to the President of the Board of Commissioners to sign all acceptance documents and waivers related to the grant program in the amount of $660,208.75.
Good morning, commissioners. Good morning, everyone. I'm Kevin Greenwood, Deputy Director of Survivor Services in the Office of Justice Policy and Programs. And the resolution presented to the Board of Commissioners today is for authorization to accept the fiscal year 2020 Stop Violence Against Women Act Block Grant in the amount of $660,208.75 from the Office of Criminal Justice Services as a pass-through through the Federal Office on Violence Against Women. These grant funds will be used to enhance prosecution, law enforcement, and victim services targeted to female victims of domestic violence, sexual assault, stalking, and dating violence. The fiscal year 2020 award reflects a 6.3% increase from the fiscal year 2019 award, and the award period is January 1st, 2021 through December 31st, 2021. We respectfully request your approval of this resolution, and I would be happy to answer any questions for you.
Well, if there are no questions, I will move approval of resolution 216-21.
Second.
Moved and seconded, voting. Commissioner O'Grady?
Yes.
Commissioner Brown?
Yes.
Commissioner Boyce?
Yes.
Resolution number 216-21 has been adopted. Resolution number 217-21. Resolution authorizing 13 subgrant awards and contracts for services to provide victim services and enhance law enforcement and prosecution under the fiscal year 2020 Services Training Officers Prosecutors Violence Against Women Act Block Grant Program in the amount of $657,208.75.
The Violence Against Women Act Formula Grant Program supports communities in their efforts to develop and strengthen effective law enforcement and prosecution strategies to combat violent crimes against women and to develop and strengthen victim services in cases involving domestic violence, sexual assault, stalking, and dating violence. This resolution will provide 13 sub-grant awards totaling $657,208.75. The subgrants awardees this year include the Franklin County Sheriff's Office, the Columbus City Attorney's Office, the Franklin County Court of Common Pleas, the Franklin County Prosecutor's Office, Choices, Advocating Opportunity, Ethiopian Social Services, the Ohio Hispanic Coalition, the Mount Carmel Health Foundation, and SARNCO. All 13 subgrant awards are continuation projects with a history of meeting or exceeding their performance goals, compliance with local, state, and federal guidance, and timely reporting submissions. Again, we respectfully request your approval of this resolution, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
There's no questions. I'll move approval of resolution 217-21.
I'll second.
Moved and seconded, voting. Commissioner O'Grady?
Yes.
Commissioner Brown?
Yes.
Commissioner Boyce?
Yes.
Resolution number 217-21 has been adopted.
Thank you all.
Resolution number 218-21. Resolution authorizing a subgrant award to the Franklin County Municipal Court for pretrial assessment services through the fiscal year 2020-2021 Targeted Community Alternatives to Prison Grant Program in the amount of $50,000.
Good morning, Commissioners. Melissa Pearson also on behalf of the Franklin County Office of Justice Policy and Programs. Commissioners, as you're well aware, the court's access to robust information prior to arraignment proceedings is critical for release decision-making. This award to the Municipal Court Pretrial Services in the amount of $50,000 will support their ability to contract with Alvis for the provision of pretrial risk assessment and pretrial interviews. This contract will be supported with a targeted Community Alternatives to Prison Subgrant Award. Pending any questions, I request your approval of this resolution.
If there are no questions, I'll move approval of Resolution 21821.
Second.
Moved and seconded voting. Commissioner O'Grady?
Yes.
Commissioner Brown?
Yes.
Commissioner Boyce?
Yes.
Resolution number 21821 has been adopted. Resolution number 21921. Resolution authorizing contract extensions with the desert.
Where's your mind, sir?
I guess I'm hungry. Excuse me. Let's start over. Resolution authorizing contract extensions with the Desert Island Club and Unique Foundation for the provision of reentry and recovery services to justice-involved individuals through the Targeted Community Alternatives to Prison TCAP grant program in the amount of $45,742.
Commissioners, the Desert Island Club is dedicated to providing a safe and social environment, and I think they have been known a time or two to offer dessert. And it's open 7 days a week for individuals in early, mid, and long-term recovery. The club is operated primarily by volunteers, but some funding is needed to ensure building maintenance is covered. I would also note that throughout the pandemic, the Desert Island Club was able to continue providing open meetings and never close their doors. The Unit Foundation will provide digital and customer service skills along with career pathway exploration to justice-involved individuals with a focus on justice-involved youth that are held in our juvenile detention center. Funding for each of these continuation programs will be supported also with the Subgrant Award through the Targeted Community Alternatives to Prison Grant Program. Pending any questions, I would request your approval of both of these subgrants, and of course would be happy to answer any questions you might have.
If there are no questions, I will move approval of Resolution 21921.
Second.
Moved and seconded voting. Commissioner O'Grady?
Yes.
Commissioner Brown?
Yes.
Commissioner Boyce, and you're muted, sir.
Yes.
Thank you. Resolution number 21921 has been adopted. Resolution number 22021. Resolution authorizing the county administrator to execute a year one grant extension with the Vincentian Ohio Action Network in support of the accompanying Returning Citizens with Hope program through the Board of Commissioners Catalyst Grant in the amount of $165,125.
Commissioners, this continuation contract that's supported with your Catalyst Grant program will continue to support justice-involved individuals through promotion of second chance employment, education for landlords and faith community leaders about reentry challenges, and emergency short-term housing assistance to individuals just released from incarceration. Additionally, BOAN will assist 20 women incarcerated at the Ohio Reformatory for Women in developing careers in non-traditional career paths, including computers and machining fields. Pending any questions, I would respectfully request your approval of this continuation contract.
If there are no questions, I'll move approval of Resolution 22020.
Second.
Moved and seconded voting. Commissioner O'Grady?
Yes.
Commissioner Brown?
Yes.
Commissioner Boyce?
Yes.
Resolution number 22021 has been adopted. Thanks for making me laugh, Melissa.
Thank you. Next is Public Facilities Management.
Resolution number 22121, resolution authorizing a guaranteed maximum price amendment number 2 to modify the original contract agreement with Elford Incorporated to provide construction manager at-risk services, including construction services associated with the construction of the Franklin County Domestic Relations and Juvenile Court, and the amount of the contract not to exceed $8,415,285.53.
Good morning, Commissioners. July of 2020, Elford Incorporated was awarded a contract agreement to provide construction manager at-risk services associated with this planning, design, and construction of the Franklin County Domestic Juvenile Court, located at 373 High Street. This resolution authorizes maximum price amendment number 2 to provide additional construction services associated with the domestic relations and juvenile court renovation. The proposed GMP Amendment 2 includes additional work for the renovation of the 4th floor clerk of court's office, an owner-directed allowance, and an audio-visual allowance to expand, enhance technology in the Franklin County domestic relations and juvenile court. All unused allowances are reimbursed to the county. ELFR will hold all subcontractors associated with this amendment, and this work would commence in 2021. Pending any questions, we request your approval of the guaranteed maximum price amendment number 2.
If there are no questions, I'll move approval of resolution 22121.
Second.
Moved and seconded, voting Commissioner O'Grady,
Yes.
Commissioner Brown,
Yes.
Commissioner Boyce.
Yes.
Resolution number 22121 has been adopted. Resolution number 22221, resolution authorizing the county administrator to execute a contract agreement with Madison Heights Glass Company Incorporated to perform glass and glazing activities associated with the construction of the Franklin County Correction Center continuation phase 2A in the amount of $2,787,600.
Commissioners, I would like to apologize because Dean had brought up dessert. It kind of threw me, so I forgot to give you my name. But this is Vivian Alexander, Chief Operating Officer for Public Facilities. But I do owe that to Dean for having me make that error.
Well, now he's got to buy you dessert. That's what that's all about. He's got to buy you
Yes, we'll have to work that out.
Yeah.
So this resolution authorizes a contract agreement with Madison Heights Glass Company Incorporated to perform glass and glazing activities associated with the construction of the Franklin County Correction Center continuation phase. 2 bids were received, and Madison Heights was a low bidder. Madison Heights is headquartered in Ferndale, Michigan, but will utilize local labor with 8 jobs to be created at peak. Madison Heights is signatory to the Glazers Local 372 in Columbus. Madison Heights has committed to 21%, approximately $590,000, diversity participation from one material supplier on its SCBE utilization plan. The Correction Center construction project has an established emerging business enterprise aspirational goal of 12%. This project remains on track to exceed the aspirational goal with SCBE commitment of 27.11%, approximately $73.7 million as of February 28, 2021. Pending any questions, we request your approval of this contract agreement.
There are no questions. I'll move approval of resolution 22221.
I'll second.
Moved and seconded, voting Commissioner O'Grady,
Yes.
Commissioner Brown,
Yes.
Commissioner Boyce.
Yes.
Resolution number 22221 has been adopted.
Clerk Hindenlang,
Yes, sir.
previously I made, I moved approval of resolution 22020. You read it as resolution 22021, but I moved approval of resolution 22020. I just wanted to make mention of that. I know that it, I don't know if it matters, but I know that you read it correctly. I just moved it incorrectly.
I appreciate you pointing it out, Commissioner. I think with Commissioner Brown's second and my reading it correctly, I think we're covered, sir.
Okay, just wanted to make sure. I realized that after we were done with it.
Thank you, Commissioner.
All right, you can go ahead and move on.
Resolution number
Permission.
Resolution number 22321. Resolution authorizing recycling of information technology equipment declared obsolete by the Franklin County Automatic Data Processing Board.
The final resolution, Commissioners, monthly, this agency is asked by the Data Processing Board to assist with the disposal of obsolete surplus IT equipment. We do so in a manner consistent with this board's commitment to promote sustainable principles and our policy decisions and programs. Any questions? We request your approval to dispose of this e-waste.
If there are no questions, I'll move approval of resolution 22321.
Second.
Moved and seconded, voting Commissioner O'Grady,
Yes.
Commissioner Brown,
Yes.
Commissioner Boyce.
Yes.
Resolution number 22321 has been adopted.
Thank you, Commissioners. All of you have a great day.
You too,
Thank
Vivian.
you.
Thank you. Next, Human Resources.
Resolution number 22421, resolution authorizing a contract modification between Franklin County and Cbis Benefits and Insurance Services Incorporated in the amount of $17,000.
Good morning, Commissioners. Jody Lees on behalf of the Franklin County Human Resources Department. This contract modification is being requested to compensate Cbis for work provided in support of the county in legal proceedings. The total cost of the modification is $17,000, and all other provisions of the existing contract remain the same. So pending any questions, I ask for approval of this resolution.
If there are no questions, I'll move approval of resolution 22421.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Voting, Commissioner O'Grady,
Yes.
Commissioner Brown,
Yes.
Commissioner Boyce.
Yes.
Resolution number 22421 has been adopted. Resolution number 22521, resolution authorizing a contract between Franklin County and USI Insurance Services, LLC, in the amount of $334,087.50.
This contract secures the services of Finley, our benefits and wellness consultant, through the end of this year, through December 31st of 2021. USI Insurance Services purchased Finley in 2020, so that is why the contract is under the name of USI Insurance Services instead of Finley. So the scope of work for this new contract includes general health and wellness consulting services for the Franklin County Cooperative and Thrive On programs, as well as work on several ongoing and upcoming requests for proposal. The total cost of this contract is just under $335,000. So pending any questions, I ask for approval of this resolution.
If there are no questions, I'll move approval of resolution 22521.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Voting, Commissioner O'Grady,
Yes.
Commissioner Brown,
Yes.
Commissioner Boyce.
Yes.
Resolution number 22521 has been adopted.
Thank you.
Thank you. Purchasing.
Resolution number 22621, resolution approving purchases for various Franklin County agencies in the amount of $847,949.16.
Good morning, Commissioners. Megan Perry-Balanier, Director of Purchasing. This resolution requests your approval of 101 purchase orders for which the County Auditor has pre-certified available funding. This week, 16 out of 23 eligible POs totaling $141,619.33 are being presented for award to 11 women business enterprises, 3 minority business enterprises, 1 small and emerging business enterprise, and 1 local economically disadvantaged business enterprise. This represents 70% of the eligible PO volume and 89% of the eligible PO dollar value. Pending any questions, I respectfully request your approval of this resolution.
If there are no questions, I'll move approval of 22621.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Voting, Commissioner O'Grady,
Yes.
Commissioner Brown,
Yes.
Commissioner Boyce.
Yes.
Resolution number 22621 has been adopted.
Thank you, Commissioners.
Thank
And
you.
next, thank you. And next, Board of Commissioners.
Resolution number 22721, resolution extending the appointment of Paul Chodak III to the Columbus Regional Airport Authority Board of Trustees.
Good morning, Commissioners. Eric Janis, Deputy County Administrator. Resolution 234-18 appointed Paul Chodak to the Columbus Regional Airport Authority Board of Trustees. That resolution contained a drafting error on the end date of the appointment. This resolution would simply extend his appointment to the end of this year to comport with the 4-year term set in statute and in their bylaws. Pending any questions, would recommend approval.
If there are no questions, I'll move approval of resolution 22721.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Voting, Commissioner O'Grady,
Yes.
Commissioner Brown,
Yes.
Commissioner Boyce.
Yes.
Resolution number 22721 has been adopted.
Thank you.
That concludes our regular agenda. Are there any generalizations?
There is one, Commissioner. I must say it's a little long, so Just bear with me. I will do my best to get through it. Okay. From our friends at Economic Development and Planning, case number
Does it have anything to do with dessert, Dean?
No, Commissioner, it does not, although it probably will now. So case number ANX-07-21, an expedited type 2 annexation petition ANX-07-21 was filed with the Franklin County Economic Development and Planning Department on March 16, 2021. The petition is requesting to annex 4.75 acres, more or less, from Blendon Township to the City of Columbus. The petition will be considered by the Board of Commissioners on April 20th, 2021. Site, Ingleside Drive, PID number 110-000294, 110-000309, 110-000353, 110-000401, and 110-000402, along with Beechwood Drive, PID number 110-000356, 110-000357, 110-000373, and 110-000377. Cherry Bottom Road, PID number 110-000374 and 110-000376. 4628 South Ingleside Drive, PID number 110-000354. 4701 Beechwood Drive, PID number 110-000358. And lastly, 5621 Cherry Bottom Road, PID number 110-000333.
All right, it wasn't so bad. Are there any members of the media who have any questions at this time? Okay, seeing that there are none, just kidding. Are there any members here?
We're all having dessert.
Right. All right. Well, that concludes our meeting. Everyone have a great day and rest of your week.
Have a great day.
Take care, everybody.
Thank you, everyone.